Now, the question I want to ask you today is 5.1. I'm talking about home theater now. I'm talking about surround sound. Is 5.1 good enough? In today's age where, Dolby Atmos and DTS-X and, IMAX Enhance, in today's age where all of those formats, seem to be dominating the home theater space in terms of, speaker layout, speakers, bed layer speakers all around you and high channels above. Is 5.1 still relevant? That's the question I want to ask you today. Now, if you are new to the home theater space and you're thinking of building out a new system, something that will allow you to kind of enjoy your big screen TV a little bit better in terms of, matching the visuals with the, with good audio quality, something cinematic, so to speak, in terms of sound. Typically, over the last, I would say, 2 decades or so, the amount of speakers, or should I say, the 5.1 layout, was kind of the de facto standard, so to speak, over the last, I'm going to say the last, 20 years or so. 5.1 really refers to you're going to have, your left front, your center, your right front, and you're going to have 2 speakers at the back. So that's 5 speakers, left, center, right, and 2 surround back. And then you're going to have a subwoofer, which is the 0.1. That is a 5.1 system. So 5 surround speakers and the subwoofer. Right? Now, like I said, the 5.1 system has been, or should I say the 5.1 layout has been kind of the de facto standard over the last many, many years. But over the last, decade or maybe a little bit less, people are moving into Dolby Atmos. Dolby Atmos is, DTS-X. These are more referred to as object-based, surround sound formats. They are more precise in terms of sound and where sound is placed. Sounds are placed in an environment, so to speak. But that also comes with, the need to have more speakers, right? Now, in many cases, well, maybe not in many cases. In some cases, I should say, some people will not have the space to kind of incorporate all of those speakers into their environment or into their listening area. But generally speaking, a Dolby Atmos system would still, or the base, I'm going to say a basic Dolby Atmos, and I'm not including any kind of up-firing, bouncy stuff from the ceiling. I'm talking about a physical speaker layout now. Generally speaking, a basic Dolby Atmos system will require you to have the same kind of layout that I described earlier. Left, front, center, right front, at least 2 surround backs, but in addition to that, it's going to require you to have at least 2 high channels. So those are 2 speakers that are placed overhead. All right, and so that's a basic Dolby Atmos system. The difference with that and a 5.1, I would say, are the 2 speakers that you would have up there, right? And in addition to that, you'll also have your subwoofers, whether it's 1 or 2 subwoofers, right? But for the most part, I'm going to talk about me now. I have still been rocking a 5.1 system for quite a while now. I have tried Dolby Atmos, a couple of times, and for whatever reason, and you can go back to some of my videos and hear those reasons. I have come back to 5.1. But in today's age, where the dominant speaker layout in terms of a home theater is, I should not, well, let's back up a bit. In today's age where, the technology is kind of moving towards Dolby Atmos and DTS-X as the de facto sound, the de facto speaker layout for home theater. Is 5.1 still relevant? That's the question. Is 5.1 still relevant? And that is something, I want to ask you today. What are you rocking? Are you still doing a 5.1 system, or have you made the transition to Dolby Atmos? I had the opportunity to visit a good friend of mine recently, and he has a Dolby Atmos system, and I have never been able to experience real Dolby Atmos. So he has a Dolby Atmos system. He has only 2 high channels, right? But he had some really good demo audio tracks for Dolby Atmos and DTS-X on a what is it? I think it's a PlayStation, one of those PlayStation. I'm not sure which one of those later PlayStation console, which he uses for streaming also. And he was able to play back some of those demo tracks, and my goodness, man, I was kind of blown away, to be honest, because I have incorporated Dolby Atmos in my listening space here in the past, and for whatever reason, I have never really enjoyed it the way I anticipated, if you know what I mean. For the main reason was that I was never getting much out of my high channel speakers, and so the experience was not really, it was not should I say, an inviting experience for me. There was, the experience was lacking. That's what I want to say. And so, I have tried a couple of Dolby Atmos receivers. I have calibrated my system to the best of my know-how, and in this listening space, but I have never really experienced it the way that I anticipated that it should be. So when I was able to to kind of listen to what my friend's system had to offer, I was really impressed. I was kind of blown away. I mean, the whole speaker, the whole environment, or the environment that was being portrayed in the video, and the way the sounds were placed in the environment, it was really something to hear. Really something to hear. And if you're new to home theater, Dolby Atmos is really about sound. It's really about how sound is placed in a listening environment, how sound is engineered to make sound, to make sounds so much more realistic and so much make sound, so real, if you know what I mean. And so, I was really impressed with my friend's system, and it kind of gave me the bug again to try. it kind of encouraged me, and gave me that bug again to try Dolby Atmos. Now I still don't have a Dolby Atmos receiver. I've been looking at some used one online, and I may just try it again, because obviously, I don't know. I mean, I've been in home theater for many years, and I think I know how to calibrate my system. I've been doing this for quite a while. I've been, I have used the calibration microphone, and I have used the tape measure aspect of it, where you would measure your speaker location to your seating position, that kind of stuff. So I have a fair understanding of how to calibrate my system. But after hearing my friend's system, it cast a little doubt in terms of whether I may have been doing something wrong. One thing that he mentioned to me was the fact that he had his high channels, turned up. I'm not sure if that is something that I did, and so I'm going to revisit Dolby Atmos. I'm not sure how soon. Maybe when I can get a decently priced used receiver, because I don't think I'm going to buy back a new. Well, they say never, but I don't think I'm going to end up buying a new receiver again. There are enough good used receivers on the market. Yeah, so that's my my little question for you today. In an era where Dolby Atmos, DTS-X, IMAX enhanced, Aura 3D, all of those, surround sound. Some of them are not in formats per se, but I'm going to say formats nevertheless. In an era where all of these sound environments are, are kind of the standard nowadays, is 5.1 still good enough? Is 5.1 something that you're still rocking? I'd like you to tell me about it. And if you have a little home theater system in your home, what are you rocking? Are you doing Dolby Atmos with maybe, a vast amount of bed layer speakers plus, numerous high channels? I'm talking about 4 or more. What are you rocking? Are you doing a basic Dolby Atmos setup with, a 5 speaker bed layer kind of setup, your sub and maybe just 2 high channels? Tell me about what you're rocking. And if not, what are you rocking? Is that the regular 5.1 setup? Because like I said, I'm still doing a 5.1 setup here. But I after hearing my friend's system, I got bitten by the Dolby Atmos bug again, and I'm gonna revisit it. But tell me what you're rocking. I love to hear. All right. I love home theater. I really, as a matter of fact, going to the movies now, into the commercial, big commercial, theaters, Cineplex, Odeon, and those kind of places. If I go to these, locations to watch a movie, for me, it's more of a social evening out. Maybe my wife and I just want to spend some time together, and we would go out, or maybe my sons and I would go out to watch something. But generally speaking, it's more of a social gathering, just to spend some time together. But for the most part, I kind of enjoy watching movies, more at home. Essentially what I'm saying, I enjoy watching movies in my home theater setup. For some reason I enjoy it much better, because another thing that I notice when I go to the movies, if you're not sitting, let's back up. If they are running a Dolby Atmos setup in the theater, right, and you're not sitting, in a certain area, kind of the sweet spot area in the home theater, in the room, in the cinema, it's not going to be a very realistic experience, because what I have observed in the past is that, you know, I'm hearing sounds in places where, you know, I didn't expect to hear sounds. But I kind of, you know, I think that was because of where I was sitting, you know, because of my seating location in that, in the environment, you know, in the room. So for that reason, you know, when I'm at home, I can, you know, I have my seating position, and my system is calibrated for that seating position. So, you know, for that reason, I can enjoy my movie watching experience, you know, in my home theater much more than the big cinemas out there. But, you know, tell me what you think. What are you rocking these days? You know, I like to hear about it. And if you like this video where we just sit and we just talk about, you know, the experience of home theater, the gear, and the, you know, we talk about the technology and all of that. You know, if you like these videos, give me a thumbs up. And if you like the channel, don't forget to subscribe, because, you know, this is where we kind of meet and we just sit and chat and reminisce and catch up on, you know, the hobby of sound and, you know, and picture and, you know, and gear and all of that. All right. So until the next video, you take care of yourself, guys. Bye-bye.